howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show. Before the free show, where someone was messing with my headset.
Wasn't me.
I don't know who it was, but
you know I do not go over there. You know that equipment scares me.
Yeah, I told our big boss that or him, our big boss Adam, coming into the studio makes me
tense.
Quite
tense.
Yeah. I get worried that
I get it.
all the things that could go wrong start playing in my head.
Mm-hmm. Mostly everything.
Okay,
Pickle. It feels like we've been doing a lot of announcements lately.
This is primarily an announcement show.
We are mostly an announcement show. But
we have an announcement.
Another one for you today. And that is to mark your calendar for Thursday. Because on Thursday,
shabam,
we're bringing back the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Watch-Along. We are going to be sitting here watching Dickinson and Fort Bend Ridgepoint on Texan Live, 7 o'clock on Thursday. We're going to be sitting there. We're going to be here. It's going to be myself. It's going to be you. It's going to be Ish. It's going to be our friends from 24/7, Gabe Brooks and Mike Roach. And
it's going to be awesome. And
here's the thing. Here's the new thing.
That's super exciting.
We can show you the game.
Yeah. That Texan Live logo has Dave Campbell's on the top of it. So we are able to do it.
So in the past, because of rights issues, because we didn't own the rights to the game, we couldn't show you the game. It was just us sitting here. You're looking at us on a couch, basically. And then you would have to second screen it on Texan Live because we were watching a Texan Live game. Now, we can just show you the stinking game.
Yeah.
And so we are going to, courtesy of Texan Live, we should say, and you should please subscribe to Texan Live.
Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
Dave Campbell's Texan Live. But courtesy of Texan Live, we're giving this game away for free.
We sure are.
Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch on Thursday. Thursday, 7 o'clock. It's going to be me, Pickle, Ish, Gabe Brooks, and Mike Roach sitting in this studio.
I'll throw it up one more time.
We are going to be watching Dickinson and Fort Bend Ridgepoint, and you can watch it with us. That's right. One screen. Just turn on Facebook, turn on Twitch, turn on YouTube.
And you'll get our faces along with a football game.
You'll get our commentary over the Fort Bend Ridgepoint versus Dickinson game, 7 o'clock. And we're going to try to do these, I don't know.
Every so often.
Yeah,
every couple
because this is fun, and we can. And we, here's the I'm really bad at business, as you can tell.
This is going great.
Here's the whole thrust of it, is that we want you to see that we've got streaming games, TexanLive.com, and we hope that you'll watch it and be like, boy, I like that. I like watching high school football. I'm going to go to TexanLive.com and subscribe so I can watch more high school football.
I was going to say, I think the other thing, too, that genuinely surprises people that haven't watched a game on Dave Campbell's Texan Live before is, the quality of the game is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like watching any other broadcast. And so we're hoping that y'all will be able to see this is a good quality product. I do want to go watch these games
give you a little taste.
On a weekly basis.
Give you a little taste.
The,
we hope
the chips and dip.
The chips and dip. Give you a little bit of the chips and the queso.
Which I guess, you know what else we could announce real fast since it's the pre-show, and pre-show people deserve to be rewarded.
Doing announcements? Okay.
Yeah. This can be the chips and dip because on Saturday we're doing our first Texan Live, Dave Campbell's Texas Football duo broadcast
crossover.
As Gavin will be joined by our very own Matt Stepp on color commentary. So there's a pre-show chips and dip for you.
There you go. Big things popping around here, guys.
Yeah.
So Thursday, make sure you throw that up one more time. Thursday, make sure you hang out with us. 7 o'clock Thursday night on YouTube, on Twitch, or on Facebook. You can watch the Dickinson and Fort Bend Ridgepoint game, and you can get pithy commentary from Gabe Brooks, who's hilarious, and Mike Roach.
Yeah, they're really the stars of the show.
They're the stars. We're also going to be there, and just good dudes. We're going to be talking football, talking ball, eating pizza, drinking water out of red Solo cups, And yeah, it'll be great. So make sure you join us Thursday, 7 o'clock, for the return of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Watch-Along, Dickinson and Fort Bend Ridgepoint.
I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
I'm pumped, too. All right, hit the theme expo. Let's go! Free money! Free money!
Hey, how to sing blue thing. Shot glass in your hand.
Yes, from the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Louisville, Texas. It is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, or you're listening to us on the podcast. Did I just put a F on podcast?
What in the world is a podcast?
Or you're listening to us on the podcast.
No, people on the podcast are really going to like that.
Which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. If I'm going to screw up, I'm just going to bring the whole show down with me.
If you go down, we're all going down.
I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. She is Ashley Pickle.
Trying to keep this podcast afloat.
I know. You really are. God bless you. Today is Tuesday, August 31st, 2021, the end of August.
Yeah.
Last day of August.
Last day, best day.
August, I have a complicated relationship with August.
Yeah.
Because high school football starts in August, which is
we
good.
love.
Weather in August, objectively trash.
It's a spicy meatball out there.
My when my wife moved down to Texas, we
She probably said,
we got through, and it was like we got to like July 30th, and she's like, "Oh, well, thank goodness! Like we're past the rough part of summer." And I was like, "Oh no." Oh, no.
It only gets worse from here,
honey,
sweetheart.
You don't get it. 86 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Hillary Farr. Hillary is the co-host. Perhaps you've seen the hit show on HGTV called Love It or List It. Shout out Hillary Farr. It's her birthday today. Episode 1231. On today's show, guys, big, beefy show.
Yes.
We are going to talk a little college football, including UTEP's win over New Mexico State and some headlines from across the state. Then we're gonna we got some other announcements like the Dairy Max Built by Chocolate Milk Assistant Coach of the Week, the Impactful Leader presented by the First National Bank of Omaha. We've got a few other things to get to like that, including the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Coaches of the Week. Then we will talk with Craig Way.
Tuesdays.
Texas High School Football Hall of Famer joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. In the back half of the show, this is
new stuff.
This is a vertical tease.
Yes.
This is a vertical tease. Stay tuned to the end of the show. The debut of the first ever Dave Campbell's Texas Football
Top 10 plays of the week.
That's right. Top 10 plays of the week.
I'm real pumped about this.
We're going to show you the top 10 plays of the week, courtesy of our friends at Texan Live. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Rob Hadaway, Ed McElroy, Tanner Solis, and Aaron Flynn. Feel better, bud. Welcome in, fellas.
Oh, no.
Under the weather, Aaron Flynn.
Okie dokie. Let's talk a little bit about the first thing we're supposed to do. I'm sorry. This is new.
I
this
was
is new Tuesday shows. Sorry, guys. Normally this is easy, but the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Impactful Leadership Award, presented by First National Bank of Omaha, will recognize 10 influential Texas high school football athletes who are leaders both on and off the playing field. This week, congratulations to Jared Roop of Anna High School. Jared is known in the community for being an overachiever. He's loved in Anna and does his best to love everyone back. He will pick students and teammates up when they don't have rides. He invites them over to his house. They typically always feeds them. Jared doesn't pick kids up based on their race or religion. He just sees that they have a need, and he fills it. Congratulations to Jared Roop, our Dave Campbell's Impactful Leadership Award winner from Anna High School, presented by First National Bank of Omaha. You can read more about what makes Jared a great leader at texasfootball.com. Thanks to our friends at the First National Bank of Omaha for honoring impactful leaders across Texas high school football.
Good on you, Jared. Good hair, too.
Pickle, let's talk a little bit about college football. College football is back, believe it or not, because there was actually games this weekend. Well, I shouldn't say games. There was a game this weekend. And game this weekend involved the 1-0 UTEP Miners. They go on the road. They win the Battle of I-10.
How about them Miners?
30-3, jump out to a 17-0 lead. It might have been 20-0. I don't know, but they never looked back. Now I want to make sure that we're tapping the brakes here a little bit. New Mexico State is bad.
Yes.
New Mexico State is and this is certainly saying something when we're talking about some other programs, but New Mexico State is in many ways barely an FBS program.
Yeah.
They're hanging on by a thread. In fact, I believe they're still an independent.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a big rivalry game for UTEP, and I think it was an important win because this is a tone setter for UTEP. If they're going to show progress here in this season for Dana Dimmel, which we believe is a real make it or break it season for Dana Dimmel, they had to have this one. You can't get off on the wrong foot. I mean, we've seen them stumble in early goings before, right? We've seen them really struggle out of the gates against teams that, frankly, they should be better than, right? I mean, you remember when they played Stephen F. Austin in their opener last year, and they kind of farted around and ended up winning 24-14, right? They farted around against Abilene Christian last year.
Dig themselves in those holes that it's
Right.
almost too hard to get out of.
You remember back in 2019. Maybe you're old enough to remember 2019 when they opened up at home against Houston Baptist and won 36-34, right? You may be old enough to remember when they played Northern Arizona in their opener against in 2018 and lost 30-10 to Northern Arizona, right? You may also be old enough to remember when they've, went 0-12 back in 2017, which, ugly stuff, including a 41-14 loss at New Mexico State. So I don't want to just kind of glance over what UTEP did here.
Yeah.
It has been a long time since we've seen UTEP
like a statement win there.
Go out there and prove that, we're just the better team.
Mm-hmm.
We're just the way better team here, and that's what they did on Saturday. They went to Las Cruces, and they came away with an emphatic win.
I was gonna say, that's the other under the radar thing. This was a
on the
road game,
road.
which is
Right.
It's
I watched about half this game. When it got to halftime, I kind of checked out a little bit because it looked like they was well in hand, and watching New Mexico State makes me sad.
it was late at night too.
I thought Gavin Hardison, their quarterback, was fine.
Yeah.
He got the ball to Jacob Cowing, which was usually a good idea. He was fantastic in this game. They ran the ball relatively effectively with Ronald DeWatt and Deion Hankins. They had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different guys had multiple carries.
Showing
more than one
any
game.
sort of balance
Sure.
is huge for them.
Just having that kind of thing. And look, the defense stood up. The defense held them under 200 yards. This was an impressive win for UTEP. And again, I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to overstate this. But at the same time, it's just been a long time since we've been able to have an unqualified, very good result for UTEP, right? And this was a very good result for UTEP. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship, but I'm also not saying they're not. What I'm saying is they have, if they are going to take that next step, this was an important move in that direction. Because if they went out there and they won 30-27 or they lost this game, then we're having a very, very different conversation about the direction of UTEP going forward. So overall, I think that was fantastic. Okay, some other headlines from across the state of Texas. Texas, the University of Texas, the Longhorns.
Yes.
Have you heard of them? Are you familiar?
Once or twice.
They have named their starting quarterback for their Week 1 opener against Louisiana, and that will be Hudson Card.
Yeah,
Hudson
look at the
Card
Texas high
gets
school
the
football
nod
product.
in their opener against their, but Steve Sarkisian was clear. I watched a fair amount of his press conference yesterday, and he was very clear in saying we're going to need both guys to get where we need to go.
Yeah.
That makes me think. Now there's certainly some posturing here, right? He says that Casey Thompson will play in this game as well. There's certainly some posturing here because you don't want your backup quarterback to start eyeing the transfer portal.
No.
So he has to say some of these things, and I'm sure there's some of that goes into this as well. But at the same time, I also think that speaks to what we had heard about during the course of the offseason and during the course of spring and summer workouts, which was it's a close quarterback competition. It's not a runaway. There's not one guy that has separated himself so much from the pack that it has to be Hudson Card.
No.
Now, I think Hudson Card is probably, the better player. He was the guy that I had been hearing pretty much since the spring that it's just he's a different player. He's got a leg up in this competition. He ends up being the guy. But they have made the move, and it's going to be Hudson Card taking the snaps for Texas on Saturday.
If they go out there and handle the Raging Cajuns like you would hope that they would.
Which is not a guarantee. Louisiana's really good,
No,
guys.
and no one in the press conference yesterday asked basically anything about them for the whole first half of it, and it was kind of like...
It's cult of personality, though. I mean, it's a new coach, right? Everyone wants to talk about Steve Sarkisian and the culture and things like that.
They
but at
got
the
to
same
go out
time,
there. They can't go out there and sleep on
You've
them.
got a top 25 team coming to
in,
town.
yeah.
Louisiana's good. We'll talk about this Thursday
They're
with
only
Ishmael
2 spots
Johnson.
above them.
Right. We'll talk to Ishmael Johnson coming up here, but Billy Napier's got a cook in there at Louisiana. So that is one note. Also, there is a quarterback that they have named at SMU on the Hilltop. It is Tanner Mordecai.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma transfer has beat out Preston Stone for the starting quarterback job. I think it would have certainly been eyebrow-raising if Preston Stone had won this job, that he would have beaten out an Oklahoma transfer as a true freshman. So I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise, but keep an eye on that. Oklahoma transfer Tanner Mordecai is the new starting quarterback there at SMU. One other thing to note, and I'll just.
Did we ever talk that Baylor selected their guy? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Gary Bohannon.
Okay.
I think we did.
I was just making
Gary
sure of that.
Bohannon's quarterback at Baylor. We watched the Dave Aranda press conference yesterday as well. Okay, one other thing, and this hopefully here's my hope. I hope this doesn't we don't have to mention this ever again, and that this is a rule that exists for no reason, right? But the SEC has put out has finalized their rules for forfeitures. SEC teams that cannot play a game because of COVID-19, injuries, or other reasons. So technically, if your whole team just all comes down with a bad case of cramps, at the same time, theoretically,
that happens.
That will be a forfeit. They are not going to reschedule it. And it is going to be a forfeit. The team that has to forfeit will have a loss on their record. The other team will have a win on their record. The game will not be rescheduled. You remember last year where there was just a ton of scrambling of games being played. Oh no, we can't play now. Okay, we'll play on Tuesday. Or okay, we'll move.
It was like when we tried to do the magazine and Houston and Rice it still said postponed, and it was like, well, the season ended. Checks notes 4 months ago.
The SEC joins the Big Ten, the ACC, the Pac-12, or the Big 12, the Mountain West, and the American Athletic Conference in the same rule, which is if you can't field a team for the scheduled time and the scheduled date and the scheduled place, then tough noogies.
It's a forfeit.
You're taking a forfeit.
Yep.
So that's noteworthy. Hopefully it doesn't matter.
Right.
Here's to that not mattering.
Yes.
Thumbs up for that. So there you go. There's some college football headlines. Thursday, we will have Ishmael Johnson in here to give you some burning questions. Answer some burning questions about college football.
Ish.
Oh, you were just saying his name.
Yeah, because that's what everyone in the comments always says. Ish. Bring back Ish.
We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Pickle. Dairy Max and Dave Campbell's Texas Football are proud to team up this year to honor excellence in coaching and the hard work that assistant coaches put in on behalf of their teams. Each week, the Texas football staff nominates 4 deserving assistant coaches across the state of Texas with the Dairy Max, built by Chuck Milk Assistant Coach of the Week, and let fans decide on the winner via Twitter poll. It all leads up to the Dairy Max, built by Chuck Milk Assistant Coach of the Year, decided at season's end. We have our Week 1 nominees for the Dairy Max, built by Chuck Milk Assistant Coach of the Week. We start Pasadena Dobie defensive coordinator Cody Blanchard. The Longhorns defense was in midseason form in their opener, holding Ailey Felsick to just 113 yards and forcing 3 turnovers in a 55-0 victory. Dallas Hillcrest offensive coordinator Jonathan Rader. Quarterback Carter Sido rang up 303 yards of total offense and 4 touchdowns, and the Panthers roared to a 58-6 win over Fort Worth Polytechnic. Paris defensive coordinator Brandon Hampton up for the Dairy Max, built by Chocolate Milk Assistant Coach of the Week. The Wildcats defense held Texarkana Arkansas High to a paltry 61 yards of total offense, pitching just the program's second shutout since 2018. And finally, way down south, La Villa offensive coordinator Joseph Garcia, after a truncated season due to COVID-19 that saw the Cardinals play just 3 games, LV came out firing on opening night, beating Progresso 62-3 for their best single-game scoring output since 2013.
Wow.
So those are your Dairy Max, built by Chocolate Milk Assistant Coach of the Week nominees: Pasadena Dobie defensive coordinator Cody Blanchard, Dallas Hillcrest offensive coordinator Jonathan Rader, Paris defensive coordinator Brandon Hampton, and La Villa offensive coordinator Joseph Garcia. Vote now on Twitter at DCTF. I did it. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. That's our subscription package, 2 magazines, a year's worth of exclusive online content. If you need some nerd in your life, TexasFootball.com/subscribe. The new episode of Tap and Step is out, our Week 2 preview. You can check that out, TexasFootball.com.
Did you just ask the people if they need nerd in their life?
Just a question.
You got the dud.
Just asking. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. He joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. He is the great Craig Way. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Tap. How are you and Pickle doing?
I mean, I'm fantastic. I'm doing great.
Couldn't be better.
Pickle's struggling, but that's neither here nor there. Craig, Week 1 of the Texas High School football season is in the books. Step and I were talking about this yesterday on our podcast, that we felt that the Week 1 overall, at least at the very top, was relatively chalky. I don't know that there was any real huge stunners, maybe one here or there. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you feel like there were some surprises that you didn't necessarily see coming?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. Like you said, at the top, I think pretty much top held the form. I think you had to move through it a little bit to perhaps see a wrinkle or two, an eyebrow raiser or two. Obviously the biggest one, I think, to us, and the big exception of the rule, was Richland Springs. But other than them, I think pretty much the rest of it held the form. I liked what I saw, not only in the 6-man levels, but all the way up to 6A. A lot of it pretty much held to according to Hoyle, as the old saying goes.
Well, let me push back on my own point here for one moment, because there's one, I think, exception in your neck of the woods, and that would be Liberty Hill. Liberty Hill loses their opener to Killeen Ellison 12-7. Now, we knew that this was a little bit of a rebuilding year. We knew that they had to replace, I believe, 10 starters on that outstanding slot T offense for Coach Kent Walker's squad. How do you, and maybe this is a broader question, not necessarily about Liberty Hill, but we can use them as a springboard. How do you make sure you don't hit the panic button, or how do you make sure you don't hit the panic button too late for a team that struggles maybe in their opener or maybe their first couple of games?
Yeah, it's that thing about the urgency meter. Where does it register? 5, 6, 7, whatever. I think it's there. If it were not a season opener, then I might say that there might be more area of concern. I think going into the year, that we all kind of knew that Liberty Hill, regardless of the inspirational run they made and was within a fumble at the goal line of playing for a state championship, and Kent Walker, of course, taking over for his late brother Jeff, for all of those things that happen. Whenever there's a coaching change, there's going to be a period of adjustments, and so I think it did surprise some folks that they didn't get their offense cranked up the way that they normally would. I do expect them to bounce back this week against Del Valley, but we had our own in our building there at the radio station about the area teams, and going into the start of the season, they had in terms of 5As, who I thought were the best, and a couple of our guys in the building in our area. Once you got to that division, we're talking not about Cedar Park, but getting into 5AD2, and then also talking about Liberty Hill. And I said I kind of like Leander Rouse better. I just thought with the abundance of starters they had and a proven quarterback and a coaching staff intact from the prior season, there were more sure things about Rouse that led me to pick them ahead of Liberty Hill in terms of that particular division and that particular classification over, say, the other way around. But I do think Liberty Hill will bounce back and they'll be okay.
So then let's take that same conversation and kind of flip it on its head and talk about a team that looked really, really good in their season opener. I look at a team or teams that looked really good. Let's talk like a team like College Station. I think we were all very impressed with what College Station did to Hutto last week. I think that we were all, for example, very impressed with some of the let's see. Beckville did to Joaquin, right? A few of these games.
Yep.
Carthage, a gutty win over Crosby. Does that work with the same intensity on the other side, where if you go out there and you look really good, that suddenly you start thinking, okay, things maybe we've misread and things may be better than we thought. Does it react the same way when it's in a positive way, or is it simply let's wait for more data regardless?
I think it does. Yeah, I think it depends on two or three things. Like we said, the individual elements of a team, if they had some changes, if they've had some injuries, if they had some COVID issues, is certainly part of that. How much of it's intact, whether they were playing at home or the road. I still am a firm believer in this, Steph. There's that season opening factor until you get them on the field and under the lights. Sometimes you just don't know. I'll give you an example, and I'll pull out another one from the greater Austin area. Lake Travis, when you look at the final score of their game, they won 40-28 over Arlington Martin. And you'd say, oh, that's pretty impressive. Martin was state ranked. Lake Travis beats them by 12, and they put 40 on the board. I had Hank Carter on my show this morning, and he was just livid about a lot of things that his team did poorly, mainly in special teams. They gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown. They did a lot of things that very sloppily. But he added, that's a season opener, and we'll clean that. We'll clean that up. We'll fix that. And I think a lot of coaches across the state look at it that way, whether you won or lost. The first game's in the book, and that old coaching saw about, making your greatest improvements from week 1 to week 2. Now, there are some teams on watch because of that, and we mentioned Liberty Hill to see how they do. But I'll give you another one. From the area, Cedar Park. I don't think folks expected Cedar Park to beat Vandegrift, who's going to be one of the better Area 6A teams down here. But to get beat by 35 points, I know surprised a lot of folks. And we'll see how Cedar Park does against a pretty good Round Rock Cedar Ridge team this week, stepping up in class again against another 6A. So there's a couple of examples, but I think you bring it up. And also like what you and the staff did with your rankings, you didn't punish too severely based on some of the things that happened in week 1, like Highland Park playing up in classification and getting trounced by South Lake Carroll. But, hey, you left them where they were. And there were a couple of teams that managed to stay in the top 10, or maybe not drop more than 1 or 2, because you do factor a season opener into it. I think it's more about perhaps rewarding the teams that pulled a surprise rather than punishing the ones who suffered a surprise.
Talking with Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. All right, Craig. Last Friday, you were in Grapevine for the Grapevine versus Colleyville Heritage Battle of the Red Rail. Colleyville Heritage, speaking of impressive, goes out there and gets a big win. Your overall takeaways from the game, your overall takeaways from the experience, from just being there in week one.
Well, it was an electric environment, no doubt about it. And it had so many different themes on it other than the red rail. And then obviously at the top of the list, we think about Caleb Tejada, who lost his father yesterday or day before. And that's sad to see. And the inspiration that young man put back into his body after when he left the hospital to go back over to the field and suit up in the second half and rush for 105 yards on 9 carries. That was one theme for that. To hear Kirk Martin tell Sarah Merrifield on the sideline at the end of the first half, our offense was terrible. He was really upset with Al's offense, and they were up 21-0 because of the turnovers, but their defense played well and turned around and played much more solidly in the second half. They're going to be good. And I know you feel the same way. They're really going to be good. And there was quite the environment there. Now, I will tell you, Tep, I was warned by some folks with the Grapevine Colleyville Independent School District. They said, we've had a history here in this game over the past several years of having a streaker. Now, I don't know if we'll have a streaker tonight, but it might happen. And I turned to him and I said, well, I hope he's wearing a mask. And left it at that. But it's, there was no streaker, by the way. So those were the impressions that I had coming out of that one.
And finally, Craig, I'm gonna reverse something that you do to me on your show, and I'm gonna give you 3 games in 3 different classifications, and I'm gonna make you pick one that you're gonna to go to teleport to, because I know you got to be up at the Bally Sports Southwest studios on Friday night for High School Scoreboard Live. I will give you a 5A matchup between Frisco, Lone Star, and Aledo. I will give you a 6A matchup between Austin Westlake and Euless Trinity. Or, and here's the wild card, I'll give you a 1A matchup between Sterling City and May. Which of those 3 are you teleporting to?
Okay, forced to pick from one of those 3, I would go with Sterling City against May. But my answer is D. It's none of the above. It's Atascocita Allen, because I think we've got to see, as speaking of, by the way, season openers and making adjustments, as Chad Morris, we know he'll do with his group. But in getting ready for this really good Atascocita team, which bears a real threat to being able to snap that home winning streak for Allen, a regular season win streak for Allen, this is going to be really interesting to watch. So that's the one that's been on my mind this week. That said, Tep, as you know, because you compile the rankings, there's 4 top 10 head-to-head matchups in 6A. 4 of them. That one just happens to be the one that intrigues me the most.
It's a wild week, too, of Texas high school football, and, of course, he will have you covered there on the Horn in Austin, as well as on the Emmy Award-winning High School Scoreboard Live, coming up at 11 p.m. Friday on Bally Sports Southwest. He's Craig Way. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will talk to you Thursday on your program.
Hey, give you another 4A wild card. I like Cuero Wimberley. I think that could be an awful lot of fun.
So I'll tell you this. Stepp and I, on our podcast yesterday, he made the point. He goes, I think Cuero might be back. He made that point very loud and clear and said they might be back. And I'll tell you, that this would certainly be a good marker for where the Gobblers are on the back scale. That is certainly for sure. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk soon.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye,
There
Craig.
he goes. Craig White, the Texas High School Ball Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today.
Tuesdays.
So, yeah, it's a huge week.
It really is.
Huge week of games. We didn't even mention Argyle Pleasant Grove. We didn't even mention Lake Travis Judson, New Deal Wellington, Denton Geyer.
Yeah.
Like, it's a monster
Cy
week.
Park, Cy Fair.
Monster week of games across the state of Texas. And, of course, we'll have you covered at TexasFootball.com. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Pickle.
Yes.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football is proud to honor one head football coach in each classification with the Coach of the Week award. Each coach recognized with a special honor typifies the best in Texas high school football. Your Week 1, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Coaches of the Week. In 6A, Danny Servance from Killeen Ellison. In his first game as head coach at Killeen Ellison, Coach Servance's Eagles stunned state-ranked 5A, Class 5A Liberty Hill 12-7. In 5A, Jeff Fleener from Forney. In his first game at the head coach of Forney, Coach Fleener's squad pulled off a big upset, knocking off White House 21-20 to end the Jackrabbits' 15-game losing streak.
Good job, Fleener.
In 4A, Rocky James from Rio Hondo. After opting out of football a year ago due to the horrible impacts of COVID-19 in the Rio Grande Valley, Coach James's Bobcats returned to the gridiron style on Thursday night with a convincing 65-0 win over Class 6A La Jolla Juarez Lincoln, starting the season 1-0. In 3A, Nick Harrison from West Rusk. Coach Harrison's squad made a statement in 3A Division II, opening the season Thursday night with a dominant 38-14 win over a good 3A Division I squad in East Chambers. In 2A, Josh Turner from Maud. Coach Turner's Cardinals opened the season in impressive fashion, taking down 2A Division I Hawkins 40-19. Maud, who was just 3-6 a year ago, dominated a Hawkins squad that went undefeated in the regular season in 2020. In 1A, John York from Paducah. York's Young Dragons looked like they were ready for the Friday nights in their opener, going on the road and romping past favored Miami 61-14.
Paducah Dragons is so strong.
And in the private school ranks, C.J. Wilson from Grapevine Faith Christian. Hard to ask more of Coach Wilson in his debut with the Lions, as he led Grapevine Faith to an emphatic 30-6 win over rival Colleyville Covenant Christian in the season opener. So those are your Week 1 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Coaches of the Week. In 6A, Danny Servance from Killeen Ellison. In 5A, Jeff Fleener from Forney. In 4A, Rocky James from Rio Hondo. In 3A, Nick Harrison from West Rusk. In 2A, Josh Turner from Maud. In 1A, John York from Paducah. And in the private school ranks, C.J. Wilson from Grapevine Faith Christian. Congratulations to all the coaches, and thanks for everything you do for your team or for your teams, schools, and communities. Okay, Pickle.
It's time.
It is time because we've got a new thing this year. So perhaps you guys know, we've made it clear that we now have a streaming service.
We do.
Texan Live is under the Dave Campbell's Texas Football family. We're proud to have them. And, of course, Thursday we'll prove it to you because we are going to do a watch-along for Dickinson and Fort Bend Ridgepoint on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, 7 o'clock Thursday. But Pickle, with that streaming service, means that we get highlights.
We got highlights.
And with those highlights,
we
that
got
means
highlight
we've got
videos.
top 10 plays. It is now time to roll out the Dave Campbell's Texas Football top 10 plays of the week for Week 1.
For the Spartans. Kick is down, kick is up, and it is good. 3 game in a row record that the Mustangs have. Rodriguez awaits the snap, right foot into it. It is and again for the opportunity to return this one to previous time. 20, 10, and the Gators with their second field goal block return of the game.
Back into the wing package. Dixon hands it off to Perkins. Perkins running on the far side. He breaks it loose on one tackle, breaks it loose on the second. He's still in his feet. Look out. He's going to go. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Side Park.
Last time, under pressure now. Rolling, fires, pass is caught for the touchdown. Marcus Jackson in double coverage.
Quick throw and blasted, and that would be
On second down, Dumas looking to throw, drop back, fires. Pass is caught for a first down, breaking free to the outside. Off to the races, down the sideline, inside the 20, still going. Touchdown, Pato. Butler looks to throw, throws left side, pass picked off, nobody in front. As going back the other way is Javen Anderson to the 20, 10-5 and into the end zone. Pick 6 goes the other way, and Javen Anderson puts the Mustangs on the board first. Simmons runs to the right, gets dragged down, ball is out, and it's picked up by PNG. And it's going to be a touchdown for the Indians. Isaac Sinet takes it all the way at the end of the first half.
Looking in and out of the hands of his receiver, and it's picked off. Another interception return for a touchdown. This time for Jersey Village, it's Darius Johnson.
Trevor Helberg to get rid of it. This will be received at the 2 by Noah Patty. Patty gets to the edge. Noah Patty down the sideline. Gets a block. Gone. Noah Patty. Gone. Touchdown, Carthage.
There they are. Top 10 plays for week 1. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Texan Live. Make sure, by the way, you can submit your highlights. Tag us on social media, hashtag DCTF Top 10, to submit your highlights for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Top 10 Plays of the Week. We'll roll them out every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, and of course, it'll be up on YouTube and on our social medias. Hashtag DCTF Top 10 to tag to let us know about which plays you think should be in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Top 10. And we should say, by the way, if you tag us in it, we'll credit you on the little on the video.
Yeah.
We'll make sure. So we're not just ripping the video.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can
tag
pull
us
back
in
the
it.
curtains there. There are specific teams that we cover and stuff with them. So it's like getting y'all's help in finding those highlights means more coverage for the rest of the state as well. So
Right.
make sure to, hashtag DCTF Top 10 on those
Hashtag
highlights.
DCTF Top 10 to submit your highlights. There it is. The top 10 plays for week 1, courtesy of Texan Live. Let's go over to the jump seat for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
It's a new one. I like it.
Just thought about it.
Good job.
Thanks.
You've got your hamsters up there getting a workout in.
Always turning.
I figured let's go ahead and since we did this in the pre-show, let's go ahead and throw up this graphic one more time for our watch along on Thursday. Since we just showed you some of those highlights, that's what you can expect on Thursday night at 7 for our DCTF watch along.
Yes, the DCTF watch along. It'll be myself. It'll be Ishmael Johnson. It'll be Ashley Pickle. It'll be Gabe Brooks from 24/7 Sports and Mike Roach from 24/7 Sports sitting here in the studio eating pizza, watching Fort Bend, Ridgepoint, and Dickinson. And guess what? You get to watch it too.
Yes.
You get to watch it free on Dave Campbell's on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, or on Twitch for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Watch Along. You get to watch Fort Bend Ridgepoint versus Dickinson live Thursday, 7 p.m. Come get some pithy commentary from us as you watch some free Texas high school football, courtesy of Texan Live. Dave Campbell's Texan Live, TexanLive.com. So there you go. Make sure you tune in Thursday. Mark off your calendars and get your Palm Pilot out. Put it in your Palm Pilot. Put it in your. I'm going to
stop you while you're ahead.
Do people still use Blackberries?
We had this conversation. I don't think so. I think the Blackberry's dead.
I think the Blackberry's dead.
I think it's dead.
Yeah.
I think businessman BlackBerry went to iPhone. Yeah.
I think you're right.
One other thing, we got a question real fast about where do we, for the top 10 plays of the week, just any social media, preferably Twitter. I'm going to put that out there for my own saying, but
Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, Twitter or Instagram, hashtag DCTF Top 10. Just tag us in it, and then we'll go through and look at the hashtags each week to pull some clips.
We'll pull the clips, and maybe your play can make it onto the DCTF Top 10. It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to the Hall of Famer, Craig White, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.